And welcome everybody who's watching this special occasion, the live talk show, New Perspective on Urban Food Productions. Today is going to be a very special occasion. There are 19 teams who's going to wait if they're going through to the final of the Urban Greenhouse Challenge 2020. We have a very special program for you guys. We're going to have a lot of guests on this table. We're going to talk about the topics that also facilitate these urban greenhouse. We're going to talk about business cases. We're going to talk about circularity, about architectural. And in the end, of course, we're going to announce which 10 teams will we see back in the final. But first, before I ask my first two guests on the stage, we have a very special vlog. It's a vlog from Team USP, the Brazilian food, and they're gonna vlog about the future of food. And this very special video got more than 1,000 votes, so it is a very good vlog. So we're first gonna watch that. Take it away.
According to the United Nations, in 2050, the world population reached the mark of 9.7 billion people. According to FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, the challenge is big because 1 in 9 people in the world does not have access to food to lead a healthy life.
We are reaching the limit of agriculture area in the world. However, the technological tools will enable an increase of productivity, reducing losses and developing more plants that's resistant to water deficit, disease, and pests. Even so, this issue is not sustainable yet because of the amount of water that's used and the CO2 emissions in the chain. It's expected that in the coming decades, there will be a lot of investments in technology, agriculture, robots, vertical systems, urban greenhouse, science in general. Therefore, alternatives must be developed.
Genetically modified food with a higher productive resistance to pests and disease and a higher concentration of vitamins and minerals. Beef is widely consumed, but its production requires a lot of water and causes large emissions in greenhouse gases. So the growth of entomophagy can be an alternative to replace the animal protein. In addition, to be more efficient for protein production per square meter, it's more efficient in terms of water volume and gas emission, providing to be more sustainable. Another option is the increase of algae consumption, which also can be an option for supplementation on the menu.
Food made in laboratory is also a sector that has invested a big amount of money. The production of meat in lab is also a way to reduce the consumption of animal protein, in addition to being able to be designed with the content of nutrients, minerals, and vitamins to offer a good diet.
Although it seems to be connected only with the supply sector, it's also important that we think about our eating habits. Do we eat only for pleasure? Do we feed our body with the nutrients that it needs? We should think about all these questions and look for information about what we are eating, where it was produced, how it was produced, and also look for a greater diversity of food. We cannot forget about regional products that have been lost due to the popularization of conventional food. Delicious!
All right, well, that was a very interesting vlog. Now, at my table, we have two very interesting guests. First of all, welcome Tiffany Zhu, independent expert, writer of the book Green Cities China, and chair of the jury for the Urban Greenhouse 2020.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the table, we have René Gommersbach. He is sector specialist horticulture by Rabobank Group. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Very much.
Before we start the conversation, I just want to mention we have a poll that people at home can vote. And the first standpoint is as follows. Should planners make space for food production in the cities? You have only two options. Yes, this is a way to make... Oh, I see another poll coming up now. Oh, okay, that's the charm of being live. This standpoint comes later on. The standpoint is as follows. Would you invest in an urban greenhouse in Dongguan if you had more spare money to invest? yes, I think I would double my investment, or no way, I will surely lose all my money. René, to start with you, would that be a good investment if you have something, an extra dime to spare?
Yes, yes.
Can you tell us why?
Yes, that's a good investment. And when you have to combine the business model with the government, local farmers from abroad, from countries who can respect the horticulture, and also the suppliers of equipment. That there should be a combination, not only just to have a location for your farmers or for the local people, but also a location for the suppliers of equipment from especially Holland. So they can introduce their equipment there and they can learn them how to use their equipment for vertical farming, for example.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the business cases for urban food production. So investments are very important, of course. But a lot of people are thinking, with the whole urban food culture, maybe I should put my money in gold or the electricity cars or something like that. Isn't that more safer?
Well, I think this topic with COVID-19 is food is probably the most interesting sector to invest in the coming years. What you see is that the consumers in China and in the world are increasingly asking for trustworthy, but also hygienic and also environmental concerns. So this urban food production is becoming a very big topic with a lot of technologies going in there. Very exciting field to be in. I think as a bank specialist, you agree that the food sector has not been the biggest investment field, but it's coming. It's definitely the next big area of investment.
Did you did notice any transition during this COVID-19 outbreak? How did the whole COVID-19 affect the food production systems in China or in the Netherlands?
In the Netherlands, it didn't ruin the system because the prices at the moment for food, horticulture food, produce, vegetables, produce, and under horticulture are very well at this moment. Not the products would you want to deliver to the food service, because the food service has a breakdown at this moment. But most of the food is produced in the Netherlands. The vegetable prices are very well, so it doesn't ruin the system.
So the whole hamstring of food that we saw, that was not necessary.
Just what wasn't necessary. Just 1 week, 1.5 week, and never heard about it. You remember to the hamstring, but I was forgotten it.
Yeah. So what about in China? Do you have any updates on that? Did it affect the situation over there a lot? Or
I think the situation in China is very different from the developed world as Netherlands. The Netherlands has always a very strong supply chain from the growers to dinner plate. In China, the weakness has always been, let's say, the first 10,000 miles. The grower side, the supply chain, and then the consumer side. With COVID-19, you will see a number of long-lasting changes. So number one immediate change, which you have seen, is the rapid increase in e-commerce. So let's say second wave of e-commerce development. So consumers are changing their preference, especially older generation who are used to still going to the web market now are switching to e-commerce. And also consumers are asking for organic food product a lot more. So the healthy, the more concern for on safety. On the more longer term, what you see fundamental changes in the entire chain. For example, that with the investment into digital infrastructure, the whole track and trace will become also rapidly developing. With that, in quality assurance, in the grower knowledge, on the investment actually driving or forced on back from the consumer side into the grower side, that's going to be a significant changes, going to revolutionize the agriculture space.
So if we go a little bit back to the standpoint about investing in these kind of projects, I think as an investor you have to have it's for the long term, right?
Yes.
It's not a quick buck.
No.
So do you have to be, have a social heart to do this? Because it's not, how do you make sure it's going to be as tempting and interesting for investors to actually...
Not only a social heart, because what's necessary is that you have to earn your money. If you don't earn money, you can get have a social heart, but social heart is not enough.
No.
So
Doesn't
on the
bring
longer
food on
ti-
the table in
yes,
the end of the day.
for a longer time, there you need a spin-off what you're doing there. So the first 2, 3, 4 years, you will lose money, but for the time after it, you must get your spin-off what you're doing there. When it's growing, the inhabitants know what's happening there. They believe that vegetables are very well for them. So it would take time.
And we have a question here, question for Tiffany. What do you think is most needed in Dongguan when it comes to food? And is vertical farming able to meet that need?
I think in our design competition, we've seen a number of very interesting propositions. And one quick short answer is there are a lot of opportunities where vertical farming, urban farming offers for the wider food system, not just in producing of the food itself, but really on R&D, research, education, community interactions. So that's where the value needs to be discovered. And then we are very excited to see a number of really nice proposals in the competition.
And what do you think is most needed on in the short term?
Education. So that is ultimately comes down to where you can see now in China, a lot of investment are going into, let's say traditionally money goes real estate still, but more and more from real estate, from IT now actually flowing into agriculture. And building a greenhouse or investing in agriculture machine, even building e-commerce, even building logistics, it's, let's say, not the most difficult. The most difficult is to create long-lasting changes in growers, in farmers, knowledge transfer, innovation. But that takes a long time. It's not something you can be done overnight. You need that system of government, research institute, education, and companies all work together, which is, let's say, the Dutch model very successfully here. So in China, the biggest buck, let's say, for the gain, but it's also more longer term, is investing in education and knowledge.
So what about if you look at the Netherlands? Do we have some valid business cases here for urban farming? Because some people still doubt the economic feasibility of it.
Yes, we have just the start of it with the World Horticulture Center in Naaldwijk, in the neighborhood of Den Haag, and is working together with the Democracy, it's just horticulture, and also the one to have to cooperate with Tomato World. Tomato World, you can see how tomatoes are growing, what kind of equipment you need to grow the tomatoes. And World Horticulture Center, there will be also the participation of equipment suppliers. And in the neighborhood there, at that point, there's a school. Just also the people has to learn how to manage just a glass house. What you're going to do there? What's necessary? What do I need? So the Netherlands also have the same model as what is needed in China. And some of Chinese people ask World Horticulture Center if it's possible to copy that system, World Horticulture Center, to China.
Yeah, before we wrap this conversation up, I still have one last question for René. Do you think it will be possible to put a monetary value on the social and environmental benefits that can be achieved with urban farming? Maybe a difficult question, but
yes, that's for me. It's a difficult question. I want to know more a monetary
value.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you have any ideas about it?
I think you can, because I think in terms of one sentence I like to say is consumers, especially in China, are willing to pay a lot for trust. So what is trust? Trust is translating into, for example, you would say the Netherlands is quite a high trust in the food system because people actually don't need to pay a lot more. In China, the food system is, trust is worth a lot. So that translates into actually concrete items. For example, in track and trace, that's one thing. In certification to prove that your product claims is indeed what it is. In marketing, in branding, in packaging, in display. So a lot of niche market related to building a trust value chain. You can capture value from urban farming by closer to consumers, telling good story, bringing education, really bring the additional value food into the price. People wouldn't pay for it.
All right. Well, on this topic, I have to thank you very much. Stay with us for a couple of minutes. The standpoint was very clear. 84% says yes. I'm sure I would double my investment. So I hope a lot of students have maybe some rich parents that can start investing right now. Before we go to my next guest, we also have some nice video from one of our main impact sponsors. It's the main sponsor of the Urban Greenhouse Challenge 2020. It's the Country Garden Architectural, and we're going to watch it right now.
Hello everyone, I'm David Liu from the Country Garden Agriculture Company. Okay, nowadays we are facing the challenge of climate change, the environment issue, the growing population. So how to meet the challenge? So we bring the top universities and students together to work to create some new ideas, generate some new concept to have the greenhouse-based challenge. So by showing your talent, your creativity, we can work together to find a better way to meet those challenges for the future world, for our next generations. Okay. The Country Garden Company, we have the vision that create a better society with our existence. So this challenge basically is a perfect match with our vision. So by sponsoring this challenge, we show our commitment that we are the company who has this responsibility for better life for the future. So we work with your teams to create new ideas and also the solutions. Then by showing your talent, your creative ideas, that we can work a better solution. Okay, currently is a very difficult time because of this coronavirus. So a lot of trip has been canceled. So you cannot have the site visit to the Binhai Central Park. But however, your participation in this project and your dedication demonstrate your concerning to our world future, and also to demonstrate your commitment to a new job. Actually, we hope your ideas, your creativity can bring some very unique design, and we hope your team can succeed in the future.
All right, and we're going to the second topic, which is all about circularity. Welcome on my right hand, Wenjing Jing, PhD candidate of vertical farming at the Wageningen University here. And on Zoom, we have Chris Monaghan, Venture Director from Metabolic. How are you? I think there's a little bit delay, or I don't know if he can hear us. We cannot hear him right now. Can you wave if you can hear me? Well, the technical guys will sort this out. Before we go to you and the subject of circularity, we have a new poll online, a new standpoint. The standpoint is: would you like to eat vegetables grown on the residues from the public toilet? Yes, it's a great way to close the cycles, or no thanks, this goes too far for me. And you can already tell it's going to be 50-50 so far. Yes, to start with you, Wenjin. What are the main challenges for people, or for people that work in this area, to creating a circular urban greenhouse? Because circularity is we heard it the last 10, 20 years, we already heard recycling, stuff like that. But what is now really circularity?
Really circularity, I think the concept, we may have to go to craze. But in general, I think the students, they take circularity into very serious consideration, and I think they did a good job. But the problem is, I think the circularity requires a certain scale. Because let's say vertical farming or greenhouses, they are very water use efficiency systems. So the residual are not that much. We really, if we want to make the circularity really works, then we requires a certain amount, let's say water or resources. So I think the scale is the most challenging part of this circularity.
You already mentioned the students, the teams. Can you give us a small example without naming the teams by name, because we want to keep that a secret, or maybe you can give away a little bit too much already of the finalists. But how did the students cope with the circularity team in their concepts? How much value did they add to it?
Yeah, I think they tried best to combine different systems. Like aquaponics, greenhouses, vertical farming, and even the production of algae. So I think they did a good job on that.
Chris, welcome. You can hear us now, right?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
I cannot hear you, but maybe the viewers can. Now I can hear you, I think. Circularity. How far are we with the concept? Is it already implemented for a full 100%? And can you give us some examples of that?
Yeah, no, I think we're quite far from implementing circularity at full 100%. I think I saw a lot of great work in the applications and the teams themselves, but I thought it was really varied also. So I thought some people really focused on water, nutrients, and energy.
The people at home are hearing you, Chris. We cannot hear you. Are people at home hearing them? Otherwise, we have to.
That's a shame.
Conversation together, unfortunately.
How about now?
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, okay. Can you repeat the answer?
Yeah, of course. Sorry about that for the technical difficulties. So I think we are quite far away from full circularity. I was very impressed by what a lot of the teams presented in their plans. I think they came a long way. Did you lose me again?
Yeah.
No, okay. But I thought the kind of approach to circularity was quite varied. So I think some of the teams really focused on energy, materials, water. And I think that is very at the beginning, let's say, of the spectrum of circularity. Some focused on really kind of incorporating nutrients in the picture. And I think human waste has to be in the picture when we're talking about circular agriculture. And some really looked at circularity as involving the broader neighborhood and what this site could mean for that neighborhood. And I think for me, that is getting to the right approach.
Okay, a question for you then, Wenjin. An urban greenhouse with a vertical farm, could it contribute to the circularity in the neighborhood? And what needs to be taken in account in order to do that? I mean, vertical farming, it's still very sci-fi for me. I see these big buildings with all these crops. How will that directly add to circularity? Or what do we need to do to make that happen?
Maybe because I don't know circularity that much, so I understand in another way. Let's say if we can stand in a higher level of circularity, I think urban greenhouse or urban farming will definitely bring up the circularity of the whole community. I know there's a project called Hoogland. I think that's in Netherlands. They use the heat from greenhouses to heat up the houses for people's living, people's apartment. I see that circularity, the circularity of energy, or take this as example. When people get to sleep, there's a huge buffer or huge capacity spared from the electricity system. If we can upside down the day and night of vertical farming, let's say we take the nights for human beings as the day of the plants in the vertical farming, then we save some energy cost, I guess. I see that also a circularity. So we maximize the resource use.
So, Chris, when it comes to when it comes to vertical farming and circularity, for a lot of people, it's still very. We are not specialized in it. It's very. Like I said, maybe a little bit science fiction. We see the beautiful sketches. It's also on the website of the Wageningen University. But if I look around in my own neighborhood, I see some people who have barns that there's a little bit of grass on it, or sometimes they reuse the rainwater. But that's not really the circularity we are talking about here, right?
No, I think what's interesting to think about when it comes to urban farming and circularity is that the majority of the nutrients end up in the city. They end up in the wastewater system, and it is very valuable to be able to reuse them at the point of where they are collected. So ideally, you can reuse those nutrients locally for urban and regional food production, but do they need to be in these big high rises filled with advanced technology? Not necessarily. So I think circularity is much more about the flow of energy, materials, nutrients, and how that value is being maximized, rather than necessarily leaning on technology to accomplish that.
Another thing, of course, when we talk about vertical farming, energy seems to be the bottleneck.
Yeah.
How can we overcome that? You already mentioned some of switching the day and night cycles, maybe.
Yeah.
But have you some other ideas about it?
I read a very interesting paper. It's written by Jeffrey Sao. He is a researcher of Sandia National Laboratory. It's one of the top research institutes. And his idea in that paper says the future domain energy for people will be electricity. So we will have plenty of energy, electrical energy in the future. So yes, the energy consumption is the bottleneck for vertical farming at this moment, but I actually don't see that as a future bottleneck. Imagine a world that maybe someday the clear water is more valuable than electricity. In that circumstance, we really have to keep the water as much as possible, and energy will not our priority. The cost compensation, I would say.
So you don't think there's going to be an energy race or an energy problem in the nearby future?
No, I don't see that way.
Okay, and of course the old fossil like coaling and gas, that will disappear in a couple of years or a couple of decades.
Or I would say as human being, we capture the nature resource will be a very very effective way. We don't have to use all this fossil fuel energy source.
So, Chris, what do you think is when you look at all the concepts of the students that are watching also right now? Did you find some real solutions there when you say, well, if they develop this a little bit more, we can actually start using it or actually start implementing this?
For the most part, I didn't necessarily. I only saw 3 or 4 truly innovative ideas in the teams, but I think what they really did well at kind of bringing a lot of the proven ideas together. I thought the teams that I liked the best personally were the teams that focused on this site as a force of innovation and technological development and dissemination. So I was surprised at how many of the concepts relied on food production and food sale as the primary business model. I thought the teams that were really focused on driving innovation in this space and really disseminating that innovation in this space were using the opportunity to the best of their ability.
So, and in what terms do you, in what time do you see actually implanting these concepts and really developing for a day-to-day use?
I think a lot of the technology is.
If you can look in the nearby future.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the technology is there, honestly. I think what we've looked at as Metabolic is that there's a lot of these tech solutions that are out there right now that work. Biorefining, algae production, biomaterial cascades, advanced energy storage, even the energy production challenge within urban farming is dramatically reducing with advances in LED lighting and different wavelengths. So I think it's a matter of bringing these pieces together and making sure that other farmers understand how to use them in their contexts. And that's also why I really liked some of the components that really combine the sense of urban farming and regenerative agriculture. So they looked at high-tech solutions that were really good for enclosed spaces or where space is limited, but they paired that with a connection with the land that was nearby for agroforestry, for regenerative agriculture. And I think that's where a lot of the innovation, even though it doesn't seem like very fancy high-tech innovation, is going to come from for resilience in food systems.
Yeah, because we also it kind of speaks to the question we got. Does circularity not require a broader approach, like a landscape approach, rather than the narrow single building focus?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was one of my criticisms early on in the competition, but I think most of the teams really took that to heart and incorporated the landscape in their vision. Most did. But absolutely, that is a criticism that is correct. I think cities will not be resilient for food, for example, just by building high towers of lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumber production. I think this has to be a regional approach. And I think the COVID-19 crisis, or this thing that has happened to everywhere around the world, I think has emphasized this need for a regional resilience approach. So I think the teams that I personally like the most, and it's sometimes very subjective, are the people who realize this piece of land could be showcased not just for high-tech urban farming, but also for disseminating this knowledge for farmers on the outskirts of cities in the hinterlands about what kinds of approaches they could uptake.
All right. Yeah, we have to finish up this conversation. I just want to mention that Robert Albrecht says something very interesting. He says circularity can occur at multiple scales and multiple levels of integration and efficiency. I think that's something we can all agree on. And if you look back at the standpoint, would you like to eat vegetables grown on the residues from the public toilet? We are very open-minded when it comes to that, because 71% says, yes, it's a great way to close the cycles, and only 28% says, no, not for me, thank you very much. All right, before we go to the third conversation here at the table, we would like to watch again another video from one of the sponsors of the Urban Greenhouse 2020. Take it away.
Hi everyone, this is Xu from One Planet Research Center. What do you think of the team effort? I was amazed by the team effort, especially under the current situation. People are not being able to meet each other in person, but I'm glad everyone found a way to work together remotely. What were you able to offer the teams as a coach? In One Planet Research Center, we have a lot of expertise in sensors and smart algorithms, so I was able to offer information to teams relevant to those topics. What did you learn from the challenge and teams? So it was really inspiring to talk to all the teams. I learned that you can have actually greenhouses in the city, and I'm looking forward to see that happening in the real life. How was the experience for you being a distant coach? It was challenging, not easy to communicate with everyone online, but it was a lot of fun. What message do you have for the teams? I'm looking forward to the final of the challenge, but don't forget to have fun. Hi, everyone.
All right, and we're back again, and I have some new guests at the table. First, I want to welcome Sigrid Wertheim-Hek, Professor of Food and Healthy Living at the Aries Hogeschool. Welcome, thanks for being here. And Stefan Peterman, we already met at the other seminar. You're a consultant, visiting professor at the CAFE in Beijing, and freelance writer for different magazines. And also my former table lord.
Exactly, let's not forget that. Good times, Jan.
Before we go on to the next topic, we have, of course, a new standpoint. And that's the standpoint we mixed up earlier, this live talk show, but that's all about life. Should planners make space for food production in the cities? Yes, is the one answer. This is the way to make our cities healthier and more socially just. Or the other one, no, I think that countryside is much better suited for food production. When we go to this standpoint, a lot of people actually still feel that way. that the countryside is much better for food production. And some people actually feel it's very strange that the governments are buying up all these lands from farmers, and they protest in The Hague, and they will get angry, and then we have to get the food production to these big skyscrapers. How you feel about that? Or what do you say when you meet people who have that opinion?
I don't know if people have that opinion. I think in general, we see blurring boundaries between the rural area and the urban area. And especially in the Netherlands, I think per country it's different, but we have a quite segregated way of planning. We have planning our cities and we have planning our rural area. And now you see that actually cities are moving into the rural area and the rural areas moving into the cities. So this is a dilemma. But it's of course very important, because when we look at the populations worldwide will live in cities more and more, and these cities expand. Often the cities are in the most fertile lands. So that is already putting pressure on where we can produce. And secondly, of course, also that makes a larger distance between production and consumption, which is also not always to be wished for, especially with green leafies, for instance. So I think it's very good and very healthy that we consider this relation between the urban and the rural area. And amongst that is also considering options that go up into the air, besides only horizontal farm. We also consider that. So I think it's a natural way of exploring future possibilities, not either or, but maybe jointly.
Table Lord, anything to add?
Yeah, well, as a historian, I can only agree that previously, at least in if you look at all the cities from the 19th and 18th century, they were all planned exclusively for non-food related matters. And I think it's due time that we start rethinking that initial proposition, and that you see that there's simply a new century coming where we can hopefully also redefine social relationships and these type of essential goods that is food.
If we talk about it in theory, I think everybody can agree on the ideas behind it. But we also have to deal, especially in the big cities in Holland, with the fact that we still have a lot of need for houses. People want to live, and it's getting more and more expensive. So if the main question people have is, can I buy an affordable house? And if they still also have to think about that it's energy the energy has the best label, and also have to have green on the roofs, that's a lot for people to take in. How we tackle that?
Now, we are tackling it by just learning and innovating, but I think a very good example is, for instance, the province of Flevoland in the Netherlands, which was created purely for food provision. We didn't want to have hunger after the First and the Second World War. But what you see currently happening is that we are expanding the airport there. We are planning for energy parks there. We are planning for infrastructure there. And we are also planning the biggest house development for the Netherlands there. So that also means that, what do we do with the space we have? And this is, of course, very, very difficult, because in the meantime, also the soils are, worsening because of intensive agriculture, etc. Also because clinking in of the soils. So we need to reconsider what we do with our lands at our disposal. So if the houses go up in price, that's not very fortunate. But if the food prices go up, that's neither. It is a challenge. So how do we go about the built environment we have? And so, considering also going up until the air, both for housings, we also considering houses above the railways, for instance, could similarly be with production. Are there other options for production of certain types of vegetables, for instance?
And how can architecture, for example, contribute to and stimulate a more healthier lifestyle? Because that's also a topic that is brought up more often and often these days.
Yes, of course. And it's very logical. I think also with COVID-19, we see that there's new spatial demands in our environment, and they include, of course, health. You see all the fitness studios turning out into parks at the moment. You see all these types of new urban usages, and I think that should be only further encouraged. So you see already public space being able to be flexible for new health ways of keeping up with your health. And I think the only thing we can do is to invest more on that side, and also to really take that as a serious need for a city to be livable and to be interesting for people, young people and old people to remain there.
So do we have any other examples in the Netherlands or in other countries around the world where all these these urban greenhouse and living together, and this architecture really focused on food production and healthier lifestyle comes together in a great way? Or is it we're just scratching the surface, and in the nearby future
I think we're mostly scratching the surface, and also because it's different in every context. So for some, it's more like in The Hague, we have seen how they try to get this urban farm up and running. There economically was not feasible, so that's also a challenge. And I think this is discussed earlier around this table. But also, for instance, I lived a long time in Hanoi, and then you see that the previous agricultural site turned into the urban area. Suddenly, you're in the midst of previously in the agricultural site, and suddenly you're in the midst of the city center. So also there you need to consider how to make space for agricultural production, and whether that's indoor or outdoor. I think that is that is a bit a balancing act. And I think also a good example is Toronto, where they have considered an agricultural belt around the city. And also there you see investment both in open air cultivation as well as in greenhouses, in close coordination and cooperation of the communities locally, political, but also just normal citizens, etc. So I think it's happening all around the world, but it's slightly different and all just scratching the surface still, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I also I read up on some projects, did a little bit homework, and in Rotterdam they have now these water basins and these big, and it's used to cap rainwater, but it can also be used as a pool, and also the rainwater can be used for other stuff. So it's the kind of multifunctional structures that are popping up in the cities. Is that something that we're going to see more and more and more? Not just
yes,
like this is buildings for this and this buildings for that, but more.
Hopefully there's will be a bit more integration also into this, how the government organizes these matters, because it's largely public affairs. And Holland obviously has this very strong and old tradition of planning, which unfortunately got somewhat dismantled in the early 2000s, but now is clearly on its way back with so many national issues that concern space, that I think it's inevitable that there will be a new ministry for spatial affairs at one point again.
When it comes to the students, the 19 teams that are watching now, without naming any of them, did you guys find anything that stand out of the greenhouse concepts that you particularly in this field? Can you not? Yeah, well, you can tell.
No, it was great. I think there were so many interesting ideas that came from all directions, including architecture, but also very architectural solutions.
Can you give some examples, or that you maybe remember?
Yeah, well, there were some that were more towards creating a very iconic fixed structure, which looked very impressive, and like where you can immediately see, oh, this is something spectacular. Everybody wants to go and visit. Some of them were more phased. I also liked those ones where you could like gradually grow something up. So you start at the bottom and you build a spiral that goes into the sky, or like also grid-based, unit-based systems, which I also thought was really very strong and had far more potential just beyond the architecture of it.
And for you?
Yeah, I think in general, what is a very important point, which luckily most of the teams also considered, is that the integration of farmers into society and vice versa, and also the knowledge that modernity and advancing farming is something that is incentivizing young people to go into agriculture, as well as integrating the farmers into society and giving them further meaning. I think that is really, really important, that we reconsider how to shape agriculture of the future, but also how to take along both the young, new upcoming farmers, hopefully, because that is a big challenge now, as well as integrating the current farmers, and there we're also considering tradition with modernity. I think that was a very strong and important point.
And do you think these concepts or the ideas were realistic in terms of assumptions and also workability?
Some were radically pragmatic, even to the verge of that you couldn't believe that it wasn't built yet. And some also were very much more speculative and looking really for the future. But there was, I think, a healthy balance between speculation and pragmatism, which hopefully, because obviously urban farming has been around for some time, but there's always there's a wrenching moment when you have to build something that is so new in a way. And I think a lot of the teams really had quite pragmatic, good solutions for that, for this first step.
And do you have any particular ones that you really like to see implemented?
That's for the jury.
Yeah, we don't want to give away too much.
No.
If you look at this topic, do you see some shiftings, or do you see a special trend that are really being embraced the last couple of years?
Yeah, you mean also with the previous challenge, or because I think it's a unique peek into the mindset of a generation, because the teams come from all over the world, and still there were quite some similarities between the different concepts. And you definitely see that social media is coming across all the teams. That's playing a part, but also
so they influence each other, maybe.
Maybe, but also I think it is just how it's a certain age group that participates, and they grew up in a certain type of society, so they take those ideas along, and these are quite similar. I also think that there is some optimism in the teams, that they think that everyone who comes to the greenhouse is really absolutely interested into food and sustainability, which I hope. But unfortunately, from my own practice, I know that not everyone is embracing food and circularity and sustainability as much. So this is looking good for a new generation that's up and coming and so positive. So.
There's also some criticism sometimes from other people regarding the subjects, because they worry about biodiversity. If you zoom in too much on let's make only this on this location, and let's only make this on this location, because then we don't have to travel around the food so much. What's your opinion about that?
No, I think it is a very serious critique, and I think it's also important, especially in terms of resilience. So I don't know how it relates to this particular site, because that's just a site who produces certain types of foods. And there was also one team that considered also collaboration and cooperation with the breeding industry, and also doing trials with different types of seeds, for instance. So I think it's important that you have different site producing different types of produce for different reasons. So for resilience, sometimes you need different types of seeds because you can open pollinate them, and sometimes you just need having seeds that are very resistant to storms and diseases. And in a greenhouse, it's again different, and I think that is what we need to learn. And the greenhouse has some place of some part to play in this whole biodiversity game, or biodiversity. Actually, it's not a game; it's very serious. But I think that's how we.
Game.
Yeah, it's a serious game, and that's how we need to consider it. So I think.
Okay, guys, we have to wrap it up. Thank you, Sigrid, and thank you, Steven. Before you can leave, let's watch a video again from another sponsor, and he will reflect on the Urban Greenhouse Challenge for now. Let's take it away.
What do you think of the team efforts? I think they work very hard and take initiatives in communication. What were you able to learn from the teams as a coach? The teams consist of multidisciplinary students. It is interesting to see how they start a design concept from a different perspective than being only architects or urban designers. What do you learn from these challenge or teams? To achieve a good result, it is essential to know how to bring out every team member's best and find their position in the design collaboration. How was this experience for you, being a distance coach? To be honest, it would be nicer if we could meet physically and sketch on paper, but we tried the best to adapt to the situation by using online Q&A and Skype calls. What message do you have for the teams? I think the most important part in this project is to learn from each other and to understand perspectives from other disciplines.
Hi, my name is Hilke Bos-Brouwers and I work as a senior scientist at Wageningen Food and Bio-Based Research. What did I think of the team's efforts? Creativity and flexibility were key for the development of the designs, as well as in the way of collaboration under the pandemic stress and strict COVID-19 measures. What was I able to learn the teams as coach? During the challenge, I wanted to impress on the teams 2 things. 1, to realize that the use of agri-food resources serves many purposes and should be viewed systematically, including environmental, economic, and social factors. 2, it is important to consider that on a building site level, true circularity may never be achieved, but it is important to not limit sustainable options there due to choices here. What did I learn from the challenge and the teams, and how was the experience for me being a distance coach? You are curious and interested in important societal topics and how you can contribute to changing the world. This positive and can-do attitude is very refreshing. What message do I have for the teams? Keep on believing that you can change the world and value the collaboration between various disciplines, countries, and cultures. Together you are strong and the future of research.
All right, and we're back again. Next to me are Marta Eggers and Rio Pals. Welcome, both. Maybe the driving forces behind this Urban Green Challenge, because you guys have been coordinating everything while doing coronavirus. Rio, at what point did you thought we have to do this? Because the Olympic Games are cancelled, all the soccer games are cancelled, everything is cancelled, but this Urban Greenhouse Challenge went through.
At what point? I mean, we never doubted that we would continue organizing this. I mean, all the students that have been involved in this have put in so much time and effort. We wanted them to be able to bring it to the end and also see who is going to win this competition. So continuing was never a question, but of course we have been wondering and worrying a little bit on how could we keep it an interesting enough event and trajectory while we could not meet live anymore.
Let's take a quick look back of what the teams have accomplished so far and where we are now. What some things stand out for you, or how do you experience the whole challenge so far?
Well, what stands out for me at this point in time is really the determination of the students to bring this to an end and to show the world basically what they are able to do. Even though they couldn't meet live, they knew that some live events of the challenge were cancelled. They still went on and developed their concepts and innovations. And I really have to applaud them. It's amazing what they've come up with. And
that's a big compliment to the teams.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
So, and Marta, what are the next steps now? Because I think people on the other side of the camera are almost can hold it anymore, because it's very exciting what's coming. Of course, we have 19 teams, and after this day, there are 10 finalists left.
Yeah. It's a sad moment and a good moment. The 10 finalists, from now on, they will get a very intensive pitch training because they have to prepare 3 different pitches. So a very short social media pitch, a longer video pitch, and a written pitch for the finale book. And we have...
so now the real work starts.
Yeah, very hard work, actually, because they have come up with this great long report. And now they have 1 minute to explain it to the jury, or 3 minutes. So
elevator pitching
yes.
2.0.
But we have fortunately very good pitch trainers. So I hope the teams will also enjoy the process. Besides that, I'm really happy to let everybody know that we now have the jury of the challenge completed. And we'll announce who is in the jury very soon. And well, this still remains quite exciting whether the challenge finals will take place live or we will go for another online event. We're still working on that, and we'll let the teams and everybody know as soon as possible.
And maybe they have to watch a few episodes of Dragon's Den to get some inspiration.
Yes.
So, and of course, the teams that don't make it, they still gone very far, and I think they deserve applause as well.
They definitely deserve praise, because coming this far is really an achievement. I actually wanted to add also that we're very happy with the support that the partners gave to the student teams as well, because this helped them develop the content of their submissions as well, especially also because a lot of the support was given online. We had a speed dating event with where many of the coaches of the partners that we have had one-on-one conversations with the student teams, and we heard from both sides that was a very good way to exchange knowledge, to get questions answered, and deepen their innovations. So a big thank you as well to our partners.
Yeah, definitely. And overall, a great experience, I think, for a lot of people that being remote and virtual, we all learned a lot, I think, during this period.
A great learning experience for us as a team as well. Yeah.
Well, I think this is the moment that we go to the moment that we all been waiting for, and that is, of course, the announcement of the 10 finalists. And I want to give this special occasion to the woman that was already on the table earlier this live show. It's Tiffany Tsui. Tiffany, welcome back again. You can do the honors, but also the heavy task of announcing who is winning and who is not going through the next round.
Yes.
But that's a little bit double-edged sword, I guess.
Yes, gets almost emotional.
Yeah, I'm happy that you can do it, and I'm relieved of that duty for now. So,
Yes.
Tiffany, take it away. The table is yours.
Yeah. So, teams, first of all, I'm really happy that I can meet some of you, or all of you, face-to-face, virtually. And let me also say it is such an honor for me as chair of the jury to go through your proposals, just really difficult decisions. And it's really a couple of nights I just couldn't sleep thinking about all your innovations and good ideas. But at this moment, I think the moment we're all waiting for, let's go. So, first team up is Sky Gardeners. Hi, hello. Good to see you. You ready? All right. Sky Gardeners, you have the concept Feridi. The proposal is overall well presented and visually attractive. All food production systems and technologies have been properly selected and designed. The resource use efficiency has been fully considered. The escalator passing through the vertical farm section is really strong and makes for a fantastic entrance. But I'm sorry that you didn't make the top 10. Thank you. I'm sorry. So that was a hard one first. Second up, Team USP, the vlog you've just seen today earlier. Hello. So everybody ready? Let's see. Team USP, your concept is called Cora. You made excellent progress since the last presentation. The building design is open, inviting, fresh, iconic, and not too imposing at the same time. We live in a world of digital new normal, which means keywords like storytelling, branding, establishing own characteristics, and building emotional connections with target groups. Cora proposal showcases this principle through the proposal itself. However, the functional aspects can be further strengthened and social interactions be further detailed to make a content-wise even stronger proposal, which we very much look forward to seeing you at finale. Congratulations. Okay. Bye-bye. See you later. So. Now, third team up. Third team is the Northwest Agriculture and Forestry University team. Can we see them? Hello. So, ready? Okay. Your team's concept is called Fall Into. Technically, your team brings very strong ideas to the table, as well as understanding of socio-economic conditions in China. Your business case are well worked out. The urban forest image of your architectural design is appealing, but the connection between the architecture and the production system is a bit unclear. Your technical solutions are very thoroughly worked out, but lacking on innovative spirit. Can you push the barriers in your next round? Congratulations, you're in the top 10. Bye. So that was exciting. Next up, Team Ecolab. Do we see Team Ecolab? No. They have problems with video, but they can hear us. So here we go, Team Ecolab. Yes. Team Ecolab. Your food production system is well designed and considered, which score very high in scalability and feasibility. The interaction between vegetable production and aquaponics will create impact for visitors and greatly increase the resource use efficiency. There are some concerns with building design though. The glass facade generates a lot of heat and the use of concrete is not very sustainable. You delivered a beautiful concept, but I'm sorry that you're not in the top 10. Sorry. Bye-bye. So next, Team JCAUP1. Where are you? Here. Hello. Hi. Ready? Team, your concept touches upon a lot of interesting aspects, but unfortunately, most are not yet really concretely developed. But there's a lot of improvement from the last submission. So I hope your team also keep continually working on food production system, architecture, and integration. But I'm sorry, this is not a strong enough proposal for the top 10. Thank you, though. Thank you. So it's hard. Next up, Team CAS. Team CAS, where are you? Hello, how are you doing? Ready? Okay. Team CAS, you presented an original and convincing plan, which is well substantiated. We find your microcredit system well thought out to address the issue of capital constraint for farmers. You propose food systems focus on high-value crops, ginseng specifically. In your business model, the income of ginseng accounts for nearly 80% of the food production income. Yes, indoor medicinal plants offer a lot of interesting prospects. However, the chain from breeding to regulation to consumer uses is rather complex and challenging. But you convinced us. Congratulations, you're in the top 10. Oh, great. Next up, the IFE team. Hi. Hello, IFE team. Hello. So, ready? Here we go. IFE team, your building image is very futuristic looking and ambitious. The architecture, however, is not very well developed, and the relationship between shape and function not strongly visible. The logic of the overall building not immediately clear to understand. We miss also more detailed description of food production system, the capacity of each system, and the connections within the food production system and with other building systems. I'm sorry, but this is not a strong enough proposal to enter the top 10, but thank you very much. So, okay, next up, Team Spirit. Team Spirit, you there? You ready? Hello, how are you doing? Wow, everyone's ready? Team Spirit, your concept is turtle. You structure your proposal with the turtle metaphor to represent health, education, and research. It is fun to read. The architecture is impressive, extravagant even. though you did consider the cost of construction. But it might be planned and organized more interestingly with more innovative uses. You introduce a concept of living lab to enable continuous innovation and co-creation. This is a potentially very valuable proposition. However, it is not sufficiently addressed to show how this will work. But overall, you invest so much work to present a really strong project. Congratulations, you're in the top 10. Well, delay. Congratulations, you're in the top 10. Okay, there it is. Bye, great, see you later. Next up, Team Argos. Argos, do I see you? Yeah, hello, how are you doing? Team Argos. Making a high-rise vertical farming is very exciting and interesting. The power of the concept, though, is not yet very visible in the architecture, but has more interesting aspect in terms of trying to introduce various agri and aquaculture in the tall structure. The facade of the building doesn't really do justice to what's inside of the building. Your concept is particularly valued in terms of community interaction beyond the greenhouse into the homes of local residents, creating high social impact. Congratulations, you're in the top 10. Good. Next up, Tiago Gut. Team Tiago, do I see you? Not so sure. No, okay, I'll just read it. The proposal is named Green Rivalry. The overall ambition is good and energetic. The mixing of office and greenhouse as a business model with high degree of office space is potentially feasible, but is not recognized in the design. There is very limited explanation of the food systems and how the project interacts with the community. I'm sorry, Team Green Rivalry, you're not in the top 10. Next up, Llama Life. Team Llama Life. Can I see you? Yes. Hello, how are you doing? Hi. Hello. So here we go. Llama team, you have a very unique proposal. Your central theme is lamna, the Latin for duckweed, which is an easily cultivable alternative protein source. The integration between food, health, and life science is a very important direction. And your business model centers around the highest impact activities of applied research, knowledge development, and dissemination, which is highly commendable. It is a lost opportunity to the overall integrity and convincingness of the proposal, though, that you try so much to include all aspects you could think of, instead of focusing on your strength of food innovation. That and a good designer on the team to enhance the architecture and functional aspect of your proposal. I'm very sorry that you are not in the list of the top 10. However, there's a consensus that we think this concept has a lot of unutilized potential. I hope you will continue working on this research and this direction. Thank you. Next up, Team Coexist. Team Coexist, yes. Hello, hello, how are you? Team Coexist. Your concept is called Shennong Farmers. Very good choice of project name. It's beautiful. And you delivered a coherent proposal by convincingly elaborating on the central theme, farmers, educational farmers, and integrating farmers in society. Your only food production system is the PFAL, plant factory with artificial lighting, and you delivered a very well-described concept. You dived into the automation of the process, which is a very fitting measure post-COVID-19 as consumers worry about human contact during food handling process. There are some questions though, for example, how about logistics and harvesting? But you convinced us, you are in the top 10. Congratulations. Yay. Next up, Team Animal. They are not in. Okay. Team Animal is not on the screen, but I will read out the evaluation. Team Animal, your concept has a strong building design focus, and there are several very interesting concepts. Choice of tower is exciting, the phased growth of the tower, the use of a wooden construction element, and a floor plan with mixed office floors and greenhouse areas. However, there is limited connection within food production systems or interaction with other systems. So, sorry, Team Animal, you are not strong enough to be in the top 10. Next is Qingling Studio. Do we see also, yes, Qingling Studio is not in. Most of the teams in this competition position their products for the premium organic segments, while the issue of certification and consumer trust are challenging. Qingling Studio chose a path to develop a viable permaculture system which can provide about 100 varieties of organic products. This is very fitting to the Chinese consumer preference because Chinese consumers demand varieties much more than Western consumers. And you don't just focus on organic products, but also the organic production systems, such as natural enemies. However, your proposal is weak on design. The floor plans are pretty thin and also not very desirable. I'm very sorry, Team Qingling Studio, that you didn't make it into the top 10. However, this is a highly scalable vision of agroecological horticulture systems. I would like to connect you with the organic producer in China, which I introduced in my masterclass, to further explore business potentials. Sorry, and thank you. Team Bagua. Hello, how are you doing? Hi, ready? So, Team Bagua, you have progressed a lot in this phase. The design looks spectacular with great aspects. You have a thorough financial analysis supported by good research. Analyzing worst case and best case scenarios enhances the overall credibility of your proposal. Bagua is a very traditional, sometimes overused cultural symbol of China. The way your education curriculum is systematically and logically designed with the Bagua principle is a very good example of smart integration of tradition and science. It makes your proposal that much more interesting and convincing that you want to focus on the farmers and socially disadvantaged group. Overall, your proposition is well balanced, scoring high on all aspects. Congratulations, you're in the top 10. Yay. Nice. Yay. Okay. Next up, Techno Titlin. Yeah, there I see them. Hello. Oi. Hello, how are you doing? Ready? Okay. The concept exudes a tranquil atmosphere, says one jury member. There's poetry and philosophy behind your design. From food security to food philosophy, taking the social aspects beyond physical access. Your architecture is original and scalable when used as a system. The design is iconic and impactful. Your proposal was strong since the first round. It contains a number of excellent and well-considered proposals, such as pixel farming. But when you rely on mathematical formulas, equations instead of better illustrating, for example, how the mass movement actually works in your food systems, it is as if you don't even try to convince your audience. Compared to some other teams, progress is limited, and the promises your concept had in the beginning remains largely description. I'm sorry, and I'm personally disappointed, Team Technoton, that you're not in the top 10. But thank you. It's a great concept. Next up, Team AI Green. Team AI Green, you ready? Now we're ready. Are we? Hello, hi, ready? Here we go. Team AI Green, Herbtopia, a very beautiful and romantic name. You have an excellent emphasis on the traditional Southern China Lingnan style as a design theme. It is very well reflected in your architectural design and integrated with the production systems and building functions. Your consumer questionnaire is well designed and executed. Your food production system are well studied and well properly applied. However, we hope you can push the boundary and show more originality and innovation in the next phase. Congratulations, you're in the top 10. Yay. So, the second to the last, Green Rhapsody. Team Green Rhapsody, hello, how are you? Ready to go? Yes. The cube is your concept. All food production systems and technologies in the cube are properly selected and designed. You dived into specific details of engineering, paying good attention to post-harvest issues and cold storage facilities. We value the concept of the Green Bank, which engages local residents in sustainability activities beyond food and beyond the building. You address different concepts such as biodiversity, Venlo greenhouses, plant factories, and so on. Interaction among all these different systems and with other building systems needs to be better addressed. The architecture design quality that follows can be improved with a more coherent overall image. Congratulations, you're in the top 10. So that's the last one of the 19 teams. Inner City. Do we already know? I think by now they already know. Team Inner City. The proposal Inner City is well named, especially in Chinese, Li Shi. It creates emotional connection with the traditional way of Chinese courtyard living. The overall theme is clear and consistent with a very compelling modular system, which is sustainable and flexible for phased construction. You delivered a very impressive material and energy flow diagram for the entire system. It's very important to continuously working on this direction. However, it's also important to make clear the relationship between data insight and your design. Otherwise, it will just become a collection of data. The social interaction aspect, as well as the business model, are areas that needs attention. But we'll see you back for the finale. Congratulations. So, teams, congratulations for the ones that made through the top 10. And for the ones that didn't make through, please continue working on your dreams. Thank you very much.
Tiffany, I want to ask you to join us at the table for a celebration drink.
Yes.
And Marta, you want to say some words to the teams that, sorry, Marta or Rio, do you want to say some words to the teams that didn't make it?
Yes, with a heavy heart, we say goodbye to the teams that didn't make it to the top 10. Indeed, as I said before, we were very impressed with the work of all, and I think the selection committee had a really hard time deciding on the top 10. So as Tiffany said, we hope you continue following your dream. And we will be in touch with you after this live stream to provide you with the reports from the selection committee members, and to also follow up on what your next plans are. Thank you very much for putting in all your time, energy, creativity. You've been great contestants, and we'll be in touch.
Let's make an applause for the
Yeah, but then let's finish on a high note, because the winners, we want to congratulate them. Thank you for a great job. I couldn't have done it myself, because it was hard-working, but also very nice to see all these happy faces. Yes. So let's cheer on the winners. I'm going to pour your glasses. I hope I don't spill.
Maybe you have some glasses at home.
So to all the teams that made it through the final, we don't know how the final will look, but we'll definitely will be back in one form or another. So this is for you.
Oof.
What
a day!
We only have to.
So emotional.
So then again, to all the winning teams, all the teams that are through to the final, congratulations. And also we want to thank all the partners, all the students, everybody who was involved until this moment. Cheers to all of you, and see you the next round.